Good evening. Thank you all for taking your time to be with us this evening. The question I have really has to do with the idea that there needs to be some creativity in government. We look at this growth and where Howard County is going and what the issues are with the downtown area and Columbia, specifically with Howard County in general. It seems like the formula is the same old formula. We want to increase the tax base, the developers want to make money, so if there's a piece of free land, somebody's got to put a building on it. And it seems like that we're not going to get out of this sort of circular pattern until someone comes up with some other ways of doing things. We build buildings up and down Route 40. We expect people to get there. We have no transportation, and somebody gets hit by a car and dies. And we're surprised that they get hit by a car when we're not building the transportation. We go around, we have all this beautiful area of Columbia and other areas of Howard County that are open space areas. But the plan 30 or 40 years down the road is to get rid of those open space areas because nobody can seem to think of another way to build a tax base. Cities do it. They find ways to build when there is no open space. And I would like to know what kind of creative ideas that you guys have that take us out of the same pattern of looking for tax revenues simply by building more buildings.
Now, are you asking everyone?
I'm asking everyone.
Okay, we'll start with the county council. They had a break here, and we'll do it reverse.
Looking for sources for new revenue. Well, one of the things that the biggest area that the county generates tax revenue is with property taxes. Okay, so I certainly am standing up here in front of you telling you that I am not for all this high density development that we want to put down in town center to generate more income-based revenue. Okay. I think that if you continue to make Howard County the premier place to live, you then create a high level of demand to live here. You keep our schools #1 in the state. You keep our other services, our parks, award-winning parks in the state and the nation. Keep getting recognition that we're a great place to live. You create a desire to live here. You create a demand to live here, and through that one way to increase your essentially the demand increases the property values over time, and we can continue to generate revenue from that.
Ms. Higgins?
I think it comes to how do we continue to provide the services that we need without crowding ourselves and building on our land and forgetting about the open space. And I apologize because I'm restating this so that I can really understand it. Because traditionally, the way we continue to generate revenue, and one of the very positive ways to do that is in fact to create jobs. But in the creation of jobs, we then need to create housing. Unless we're working regionally with areas where we can, where there are places for people to live and available places to redevelop and to develop well, and bring those two partnerships together. It's a big question, and I really wish I had a better answer.
That is a tough question. Just coming up with creative ideas on the spur of the moment, I mean, it's difficult for all of us right here. But we can get to a level, the county can get to a level of sustainability where it doesn't need to grow anymore. It can be sustained by the population and the businesses that are here now, and just a continued revitalization of areas as they get older and make them new and fresh again or whatever, so that we don't have to continue to expand the population of Howard County. So I think that by revitalizing older areas and maintaining a good quality standard of education and life and what we have here now, I think we're pretty close to a sustainability at the level that we are now.
Let me try with two quick answers. The first to me is actually not a new idea. It's an idea that came about, about 40 years ago, and that's proper planning. That growth just for the sake of growth, throwing up buildings wherever there happens to be land, I think we're finding is that it doesn't necessarily mean that the tax revenue is going to outpace the expenses that we have because of that. And so proper planning of the town, as we did 40 years ago, helps alleviate that. The other piece of it is, as we develop, I think it's high time that we take a real close look at how much the developers pay. They're getting the checks. I think it's time that we start shifting some of the bills to them as well.
Thank you. Mr. Murphy?
A great example of what a creative out-of-the-box idea we did over the last few years, and I was a major part of it, the Route 1 revitalization effort. We took property that was severely underutilized, that really contributed very little to our economy, and changed the zoning along Route 1 that will now introduce promising mixed-use centers all along Route 1 where people can live, work together. And that's going to add a tremendous amount to our tax base. Secondly, we need to ensure that our school system remains the #1 school system in the state of Maryland. People move here, many of you moved here to Howard County because of the school system. The assessments on our houses continue to rise year after year, and we can all trace it right back to an excellent school system. So that's another economic engine in the county. So two good examples. I'm very hopeful for the future of Howard County. I think we're on the right track, and I think that we will have the resources and tax revenue that we need to keep our quality of life.
We've got right now a prosperous tax base going for us in the county, and I would look at any creative ideas that there might be available to us. I'm all for the mixed use zoning and the housing we'd like to find, affordable housing we'd like to find for them. There's nothing, no greater engine, as was mentioned, than the public school system. But I do think that one of the things that was brought up earlier, and one of the things that we cited in an earlier forum, is that perhaps with all the development, we need to look at how it is that developers might provide more buy-in themselves to the kinds of things that we're doing in the county, instead of just depending on the taxpayer themselves to front end of the costs.
All the more remarkable that Jim Rouse had such a wonderful idea when he sold the county commissioners on the idea of Newtown and the idea of Columbia, that about a third of the acreage that he controlled would be set aside as open space. And I think we ought to rededicate ourselves to preserving natural spaces and open space in this county. You know, I'm also looking forward, candidly, to having a new governor who will make program open space a priority instead of raiding it for other purposes, as has happened over the last 4 years. I think there are areas in this county, like Doregan Manor, that ought to be preserved. We ought not to be putting water and sewer into Doregan Manor so that it be overdeveloped and intensely developed. But I think we ought to do more. I think we can do better. I was proud that we were able to get 18 acres that connects with the Middle Patuxent Environmental Area off Cedar Lane to build the county's first nature center. So we've done some things, but we need to do a lot more. And thank you for your question.
Doregan Manor. I'm glad to see that my opponent has seemingly changed his position on Doregan Manor. Several months ago, I proposed that Doregan Manor be bought by the federal government and made a national park, so that we would not have to put water and sewer there, so that another additional 300 or 400 homes to be built, etc. In terms of economic tax base, I think we need to bring in some businesses that pay high taxes. I'm opposed to population growth, fast population growth, uncontrolled growth that we've had on our present elected officials. Slow growth is what we need, and slow growth is what the Dunbar administration will provide. Thank you.